Perfect. We are live. Happy 4th of July, everybody. This is Lonnie Summers with Liberty Run 4 Mile Run and Walk. And this year we are doing the virtual.
Oh, yeah, you're getting the sound after the fact.
Okay, that should take care of that.
That was exciting.
Apologize for that. You know, this is technical difficulties because I am not a professional producer on the all the keyboard stuff here. But anyway, so thank you for joining us. It is a beautiful, at least in Colorado, it's beautiful here. And I'm joined by my wonderful friend and mentor, Cree Kelly.
Good morning, Lonnie Summers. Great to have you with us.
Thank you. And then, of course, I'm so excited because a longtime personal friend of mine who used to live in Colorado, has the most beautiful voice, is joining us today. She lives in Texas now, so I don't get to see her as much. So the one thing that I can say that the virtual event at Home Edition has done for us is brought us together so that you've been able to be part of this today. Please welcome retired Lieutenant Colonel Dr. Catherine Struess.
Hey, Lonnie, thanks so much for the invite.
So, Cree, you've been involved. Obviously, you helped start the Liberty Run. This is probably in its 4th decade in some form or fashion. What are some of the memories that you have about the Liberty Run?
Well, curiously, we were brought into the Liberty Run with my old company. Now, you know, you're carrying the torch, and it was owned by the ACLU, interestingly enough, and it was fascinating because I got a sort of an inside look at what they were doing, and the event always had appeal. You know, it was always fun because it was in Washington Park. It was in a central location, one of the most beautiful city parks in the country, in my opinion. And we always look forward to going out there and being part of it. And you know, it just sort of kept morphing into this wonderful run on Independence Day, and it's continued. And in fact, under your guidance, I think it's gotten considerably larger, but it still has a family feel to it. I love that. And of course, we will be doing it virtually, although knowing Washington Park, social distancing is going to be at a premium today, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was certainly, and I tell you, one of the things I miss the most is seeing everybody dressed up in their best red, white, and blue. Yeah. And certainly I love seeing that we always did the kids run at the end, which will definitely be back next year. But seeing the kids run and seeing all the kids, because we have these amazing face painters that come out and just do up anything they want. And they look so patriotic and they're smiling and having a great time. And it is such a family and a great way to kick off the 4th of July. But speaking of going into running and stuff like that, Kat, you were sharing with us in the preview and stuff like that, how you've been seeing all these times at events, but now you kind of got yourself involved in doing some of them.
Well, and you and definitely Cree running into you at several rock and roll events around the country. You're right. I was adamant against, well, I used to have, the Air Force actually prohibited me from running for a long time because I've got a spine injury. And so all I was allowed to do was walk. So I retired in 2015 and was still adamant against running, saying, no, Lonnie, I'll just kind of show up and sing and clap for people and cheer and we'll be fine. But I was at a race in Dallas and the race director there had recommended, hey, why don't you run with us? I'm like, no, I just do this inside, never forget, never forget. And as we were talking about earlier, I still have pictures of some of the events I supported with you in the Denver area with pumpkins. And it just happened to be a Thanksgiving day. And in Texas, yes, we had frost on the pumpkins. And I kept thinking about it. And then Sunday, or that next day, I was actually running on a treadmill just for a couple of minutes. And this is back during Thanksgiving. And I now have a better appreciation for why people run, because just taking your own pace, your own stride, I could run anywhere from 30 to 40 minutes without feeling a thing. It's just nice, loose, relaxed, and comfortable. But, you know, it wasn't overnight. You know, you have to build up that confidence. You have to take better care of yourself. And that's starting with working with a trainer back in May, have lost over 13 pounds and about 5% body fat, changing the whole fuel intake, changing it up, not burning myself out every workout, but just keeping consistent. And so I'll be on a treadmill doing some things, and all of a sudden, next thing I know, I didn't even think about it, but I just start running. And it's just a nice leisurely pace, and it's the most wonderful transformation. So one of these days when I'm back in Denver and I'm at one of your races, I will be running outdoors.
Yay.
Awesome. That is awesome. Well, that's so fantastic. And I think, Cree, I remember shadowing you, and as you were kind of showing me ropes and getting me introduced into the industry, and being at one of the triathlons that you were announcing. And I think it was Sally Edwards that helped start.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember that you were telling me, this always resonated with me, is that
Women's Triathlon Series. Yeah.
Yeah. And that what resonated with me was you sharing the story with me where she said, the biggest thing that we can do as Americans is get healthy. If we want to solve issues in healthcare, we need to be proactive and we need to get healthy. And, not everybody has to look like the bodybuilder and stuff, but just getting out there and being active. And that's always resonated with me. So regardless, I'm so excited that people today are taking the opportunity and hopefully helping us, because 4th of July is usually the second most day in the United States of running events taking place and people heading the pavement. So I hope they're out there doing that. And I can't wait to see all the pictures that people share with us. Plus, thanks to our partners at Roadrunner Sports, we want to see all those pictures of you doing this. We want to see the great costumes, and we most likely will have we are going to have a costume contest. And so we want to see those pictures because we're awarding some prizes from Roadrunner Sports.
Wonderful. I love all of that. It's a special day. Everybody celebrates it for different reasons, but it's definitely a special day in our country and in our psyche.
Absolutely. And, and the other thing about being so honored to be here with Kat and Cree is the fact that both of you served our country, and completely coincidentally and serendipitously and ironically and all the things that you can throw in there, Cree, you have a pretty amazing story that showed up some 50 years later.
Yeah, I do. And I came home one evening, I don't know where I was, where I'd gone, and the mail came, and I got this envelope in the mail, and it's absolutely, I'm going to put on my glasses, and from a Rita Wilson in Bruton, Alabama. And the handwriting is so impeccable. At first I thought it was a wedding invitation or something. Then the next thing I thought that it perhaps was another political thing that asking me for money. And I came within inches of just tossing it. But I decided it was hefty enough and, beautiful crane stationery that I thought perhaps I'll open it. And I did. And I got this letter addressed to me and with Dear Cree, and not long ago. And so she goes into this story that she came across a letter, and that was this letter, which if you can see it says Airmail, and in the corner it says free. Well, that letter was enclosed in her letter, and her letter described finding my letter recently amidst a lot of different things in her home. I think a lot of us are cleaning out things. And she was surprised, and she mentioned it to one of her sons or brothers. All four of her brothers were Air Force pilots, which is, that's an amazing story in and of itself. But not surprisingly in Alabama, where it's very, very strong patriotic kind of background. Well, anyway, so her brother said, I think we should find out if this guy survived the war, because a lot of my friends don't know that I went to the Virginia Military Institute, and rapidly within a year or so was an artillery liaison officer, artillery officer in Vietnam as a young lieutenant. And I got there a week before Christmas, Merry Christmas. And when I got there, They assigned me to my first unit, which was Charlie Battery, 5th 42nd Artillery, which was an air mobile unit. And we're out on a fire support base. And I'm just sort of getting my feet on the ground because it's such a crazy difference in life. And the American Red Cross for Christmas would go around to different institutions and churches throughout the country in the United States and make up little care packages and gift packages for the troops that were deployed overseas. Well, that was true for Vietnam. So I don't know how they arrived, but either they were choppered in or something, and all these care packages. So I was given one. And I, being a kid from Connecticut with very proper parents, there was a note in it that said, this was provided by, and this is the interesting part, it was provided by this church in Bruton, Alabama, the St. Stephen's Episcopal Church. And this woman served as the secretary to the rector of the church. So that's how she came upon the letter. So I, because we weren't getting shot at the time, wrote a little thank you note. And I think it was almost the first letter I wrote. It was to the East Escambia County chapter of American Red Cross, Bruton, Alabama. And, again, free, that was cool. Didn't have to pay postage. And I sent it off. And this woman told me, well, her brother found out that I lived in Colorado. So she wanted to write me a letter and enclosed my letter back to me 51 years later. And I'll see if I can get through this. So this is to the members. Oh, and by the way, my handwriting was spectacular back then. It has degraded to the point where Renee Hamilton tells me I should just print carefully. So to the members of the East Escambia County Chapter, American Red Cross, and the Episcopal Church of Bruton, Alabama. It's quite a long. I want to send you more than a note of thanks for your presence and prayers, which came to our fire support base on Christmas Day. They both aid us. Now, by the way, I was a very gung-ho young second lieutenant. I was all of 23 years old and felt very grown up. They both aid us in maintaining our perspective on our mission here in South Vietnam to bring peace to the people of this land, torn by war, and to ensure that their country and its future rests in their hands. I was quite political back then. It is the assistance of brave and giving people such as you that gives us the courage and impetus to look to the future. It is ironic that your bag of gifts, among so many other bags, was handed to me since I am an Episcopalian and member of St. Peter's Church in McLean, Virginia. I want to make that point. Thank you for all you have done. It makes our work that much easier. Sincerely, Cree J. Kelly, Lieutenant. Well, they sent out hundreds of these bags. I was the only one that wrote them a thank you note. And that was point to her point. And, on Independence Day every year, and especially that particular year, I remember I was detached to a regional popular force. I was working with the South Vietnamese. I wasn't with an American unit by that time. I volunteered, of all things, to be with them as their forward observer and liaison officer. And, I'd learned a lot in just that first 6 months about the reality of war and why we should avoid it at all costs. And I've always said that elected leaders who have the potential to put people in harm's way should have served in combat, because then they will take pause before they commit to that important act if they have to. So It's a special day for me. And another lieutenant, a Navy lieutenant, years later, in 1975, when I met him, Jeff Galloway, who many, many people know as a running guru and will be celebrating his 75th birthday in a little more than a week or so. And Kat, I know you've met him and know him, and Lonnie, you've met him many times. And he is a amazing guy. What people didn't know, and when he's the one that got me to come to Colorado to open up a running store in '78. But what people don't know about him is that he served off the coast of Vietnam as a naval officer. And so we didn't know that about our common background because nobody ever talked about it back then. We weren't very welcome on the streets of America as Vietnam veterans for a very long time. So it's a special day. And I'm glad that, Lonnie, you have a race that you can just highlight all of our heroes. And I know today we'll be honoring our heroes, and you can talk more about that and what we're going to be doing to honor our healthcare professionals. So I like the way you carry the banner. I like the flag in the background of your, Kat, he has perfected backgrounds, hasn't he?
I know, I need to learn.
Anyway, there's my story, but I think it's an absolutely wonderful thing. This woman had the capability and the thoughtfulness to, and of course I did promise you that I sent her a thank you note for her thank you. Yeah.
That's such an incredible story. I mean, when you shared that with me, actually you sent it in an email, and it brought tears to my eyes, and I shared it with you.
Yeah.
I mean, 50 plus years later, to wonder what happened to you, to know if you even survived the war, and to send that and getting to you. I mean, how amazing, especially during this time that we're all dealing with pandemics and all the other situations taking place right now. That kind of reminds me, what I want to do too is one of the parts of House Sports is which we still have, we just haven't done much with it in a long time, and it's running Denver TV. And there was this amazing gentleman that we did a story on. And it always amazes me that I feel like sometimes in our society, it's always about trying to, put on all the titles of all the cool things you've done and showcase on that. And I think there's a lot that I always try to learn, and Cree, I know you're a lot the same way, and Kat the same way, is you just go out there and try to make a difference. You're not really worried about your titles and this or that and the acclimates and stuff like that. You just try to do the best that you can and try to have impact in different areas of people's lives. And you really do that. And there's this gentleman that came to our attention by the name of Bob McAdam. He's got to be either he's at 100 years old or pretty darn close to it. But a few years ago in area of Colorado, in the Denver metro area, he set out to set the world record for 95 and above for the 5K. And he tried it, and unfortunately it didn't count because it wasn't on a certified course. So he came back the next year, and he's not a runner. But what I want to share this story with him is because we thought it was fascinating, but then we learned that this gentleman, not only did he serve in World War II and was a prisoner of war, but he has had a huge impact in all of our lives, unbeknownst to us. And so with that, I want to share this amazing story with you all. So bear with me while we get ready to share the screen and play this Bob McAdam story.
At 97 years old, Bob McAdam set a goal.
If I could still break the record, maybe I could have a world championship.
So he set out to have the fastest time in his age group of 95 plus at the 5K Turkey Trot run by the Highlands Ranch Chamber of Commerce.
Mostly, he's just kind of a walking testimonial to if you keep yourself fit, it can really pay dividends in the quality of life that you've got.
He calls himself a walker and jogger.
Part of the reason I'm still able to talk with you the way I am is part of that.
But Bob wasn't always fit. At age 28, he signed up for a fitness experiment.
The one thing that stands out for me was the terrible job I did in that research study. That got me motivated to stay in shape for the rest of my life if I could.
Last year when he did it, it was 13-degree wind chill.
He did beat the record, but it turns out the race wasn't sanctioned, so it didn't count.
There's a lot more to it than just the running.
And that's not the only obstacles Bob's faced. The race had to be sanctioned and qualified in order to set a new world record. And he's legally blind, making this challenge even more remarkable. But he had some concerns.
I don't really want to run because I don't see well. I'm afraid of curbs and potholes and sewers and that sort of thing.
After watching Bob walk on the treadmill at the Windcrest where he lives, the director encouraged him to enter the race.
I'll tell you what, I'll run with you. I'll be your eyes. And so how could I refuse that?
The challenge was people were there with their dogs and their strollers and stuff, and so they're trying to navigate around.
It is a little tricky. I don't have my guide holding me by the collar.
A team of 5 surrounded him, keeping him safe.
It's not only that you can't see, but the balance you have to have while you're running. And you just close your eyes and try to run a little bit, and how disoriented you could be.
Although Bob says he doesn't like all the attention being in the spotlight, he's led an impressive life. A World War II prisoner of war and Purple Heart recipient, Bob helped set up the fitness program for our early astronauts, including John Glenn. He's even written a series of books. His late wife was the love of his life. They raised 8 kids. His son Tom says his dad has taught him not to be judgmental.
You don't know where people, what challenges they've had. That's why you don't hear him telling you that everybody should get out and run, because everybody's got their own desires.
And Bob's desire to set a new world record.
When I got to the finish line, there were a lot of people that were cheering, "Come on, Bob, come on, Bob."
Good job. You got it. Victory at 48 minutes, 33 seconds. Taking it one step at a time, Bob hasn't decided if he'll do the race again. For Running Denver TV, I'm Michelle Medina.
Wow,
So that
I
is-
love it.
Isn't that incredible? And it's so amazing to hear his story and stuff like that. But I mean, he had his hands in NASA, creating the training programs of the United States Air Force. These books that he did were for kids to help them learn better. And he had his hands in exercise kinesiology and developed, he was really true the pioneer in developing a lot of stuff that we do in exercise today, but no one really knows that. And I think one of the cute things that left me with is that, he's one of the oldest people at his residence area. And but he realized, you got to keep not only active and moving, but you got to keep your brain active. And so all the stuff that he wrote for kids, and remember that he's also legally blind, he rewrote all that for senior citizens so they can keep themselves mentally focused and sharp. Of course, that's somebody like that, and truly amazing stuff. Kat, I want you to talk a little bit about your service.
Okay, hang on. Just because you mentioned him, yes, I have my own little floating tremor. Yes, I do. Because we actually have humbly served on active duty for more than 24 years, retired in 2015. And because I love what I do so much and continuing to serve, I am actually, when we're actually in the building, sitting a few yards at the Air Force Personnel Center from where I worked as a captain. So as a civilian, flash forward, so, many years, and still doing the same thing, working with basically the folks who do astronaut assignments, as well as the pilots, navigators, and so forth, because there's something about finding where you're most comfortable, and it's about serving. Working with these young officers that come in every couple of years, because this is one of their assignments that they do, to be able to mentor, work with them, learn from them, create solutions, vent, laugh, even with everybody pretty much teleworking now, we still have our big Zoom meetings, 2:00, every day, usually our big ones on Wednesdays, but it's about serving something greater than yourself. Just like when both my parents were alive, they both actually served in the Air Force, which is what inspired me, that and school bills. But it's one of those, hey, I'll stay in for 4 years. And next thing I know, it's 24 plus years later going, wow, I had a lot of fun. We all have our ups and downs, but one of the things, and as Cree was talking about, and as you've mentioned, you've dealt with people from all over the world. There's something a little bit different when you actually get to travel to other nations and get to meet different cultures, meet different people, not see so much what's on the media, but actually meet the people. My father, when he was serving, was a linguist for the Air Force. And we were actually in Tehran, Iran, back in 69 to 72, when he was teaching English to the Middle Eastern students. Passed away, we came back. Never took choir growing up. And my mother, I would listen to her singing in church. And this is kind of where the Air Force thing is, how much the Air Force has given back to me. It's what can you do to serve is actually, I've ramped it up just a little bit. I'm actually getting ready to add my 58th nation's anthem in 38 languages. Oh. And have had the honor of singing with 31 nations in 16 languages so far. Oh, the Air Force has been a wonderful opportunity to be able to serve. One of the most memorable events that I had as we were talking about being overseas, I was deployed to, some people call it Qatar, but Qatar, working immigration issues. We had a huge grand opening ceremony. So here I am, a female lieutenant colonel in my desert camouflage uniform and stuff. One of our translators was also a musician. And this is the only time, very humbly, I've ever worked with someone to teach me something, but because of the event. So I am literally terrified. I have lyrics for both the national anthem of Qatar in Arabic and our US national anthem side by side, because I'm not going to mess up the words. Sang both of them, but it's just like the effect that you, Lonnie, and you, Cree, have on so many people. It's one of those very, very humbling feelings. I don't sing to say, hey, I can sing this many. No, it's more of for people who want to, yeah, I've actually kind of done it. You can bank on me and it's okay. But it's more about giving of yourself, giving of what you're, what emanates from within you to others. It could be a smile, it could be a song. In this one, I had no idea. I got finished singing both anthems. I was, sat down. I was still trembling I was just so nervous because there were several dignitaries from the nation that actually were at the ceremony. And unbeknownst to me, the 3-star general in his comments put, here we are, in this particular environment. And here we are, have a female Air Force officer learning a host nation's national anthem to honor our hosts. And I'm sitting there floored, because, I'm just terrified. I didn't want to mess up any of the words, but it's, you don't really realize, like you say, the impact that you have, for a letter for 50 years later, or how many events, Lonnie, you continue to share. But it's when you're giving of something just because you generally want to serve. I've been blessed with so many opportunities around the world just to sing with other people and to have them sing with you, especially when it's not in their language, or, it's not in my, because I only speak English and I've only taken about a year of voice lessons. But to have others join with you and sing their national anthem is just, it's about serving. And I think that's whether it's Vietnam, even though I'm not in a military uniform, still serving as a civilian, knowing that, some of the work that we're doing, I'm, emailing somebody in Japan and emailing the deployed commander in the Middle East. And we're all on this email trying to help these 2 young officers and their families move to their next location. And it's about saying, okay, how do we create solutions for each other? Get rid of all the static drama, whatever you want to call it, just about serving people, which is, like you say, everything that we're doing with the Denver 4 Miler, and, the fundraising and the outreach to say we care, especially on Independence Day, because, as I was sending out text messages to, a bunch of friends yesterday, it's just remembering my time in service, thinking about Korean in your letter. I was shopping at the store the other day and I happened to look at a gentleman's B-24 hat. And I do that especially with Vietnam veterans, but I'm B-24 and I'm like, wait a minute. So he's sitting down at the front, of course, waiting for his spouse. He actually served and flew B-24s in World War II.
Wow.
95 years old. His lovely bride's name, he's actually Dr. Cam, and his wife is Marianne. So I have new family now. But it was just fascinating listening to his story, saying, because of you, I got to serve. And because of y'all's inspiration, I am now running. And so how much more can we do together to continue to infuse positive energy, no matter what kind of uniform you're wearing or any kind of attire? Wear a smile and go be happy with other people.
Absolutely, that's beautiful, and that reminds me of something that I read several years ago, and that is, it's not that America has failed on its promise, is that it continues to strive as we learn, as we grow as a society, and that's what I love, and I think that's what, for me, Independence Day is, besides having family together and some of the fun, is remembering service. Whether there's many things that you can do as a civilian to serve, to help, just be kind, be patient. As I think Bob McAdam laid down for his family, was the fact of, you can't assume what everybody else is going through. Everyone has their own situations and stuff, and to understand, be understanding of that, and be patient. And I think we sadly do far too little of that in our society. And I think hopefully with everything that's going on, that maybe we'll reset ourselves and keep inching a little bit forward to what America's promise is. And for that, with what we're doing, Liberty Run, is we wanted to honor our healthcare heroes. And they have been battling for many, many months for this unforeseen, can't see war and enemy that has been, putting havoc in a lot of things and changing our lives completely. And, I think we've seen the stories. I've known some personally and stuff, and it's hard on them. It's really hard on them. And it's, we wanted to show appreciation for them at the same time and help support small business. So what the Liberty Run is doing is we're going to be providing meals as a thank you. And it's helping our small businesses, because we're going to be paying the donations going to be going to the food trucks that are going to be serving the meals to some of our healthcare workers. And interestingly enough, there's been some groups that have done this, but what we found out is everyone kind of forgot about the night shifts. So we're going to be doing it at night. And so many of our registrants, we asked them to what type of message would they want to leave for our healthcare heroes. And so we'll have banners with those messages on display where we do the meal. So I want to thank everybody for that. And the good news is, if you're listening to this and you haven't registered yet, registration is still open. It's virtual. So you've got the whole week to be able to do your 4 miles, but help support the small businesses and so forth. And kind of going on that whole thing of America to turn things to a little bit of fun right now before we wrap things up with Kat's beautiful singing. Oh, Cree's got something to say. Go for it.
Yeah, you just made me think of something, Lonnie, and Kat, you may not know this. I got to stand up, get hamstring cramp. So yeah, runners, we have issues. So yeah, there goes the hamstring. So you made me think of something. Lonnie and I, Kat, and I may have told you this story before, but we created a foundation in Kenya to help a primary school. It's called the Kiptury Primary School Foundation. Lonnie's on the board, and the reason for it was absolutely an accidental moment in my life. I went over to Kenya in 2003 to run with the Kenyans because I figured it would rub off on me and I would become faster. No, they were just really, really fast and I was slow. So I learned that the hard way. But the point was, this one guy, Peter Tanui, who had gone to an American college, Lubbock Christian University, was almost a straight A student there and 18 or 19 time All-American in track and cross country for his 4 years. He was a pretty good runner. He wasn't great, but he was pretty good. And those of you that know how I rate that, pretty good was he could run a half marathon in 1:04. So, it's all, everything's relative. So anyway, he took me for a tour of the school. Well, fast forward, we started the foundation, and it continues, and we're doing, just amazing generosity of other people. But Peter, I said to him in a light moment about 5 or 6 years ago, you know what? We should get you a green card. We should get you permanent status. And I'll take care of that. And he said, oh, that'd be great. Because he was working for about $200 a month in Kenya, and had a young wife and a baby girl. Well, fast forward, it took 4 years to get that immigration done and legally. And we built out the basement of my home into an apartment with 2 bedrooms and a kitchen and a living room and so on. And so off they come to America in 2017, just in time for the fall semester for school. And fortunately, we were able to get his daughter, who at the time was what, Lonnie, 6 years old, 5 years old?
5 years old, yeah.
Just turning 6, but got her into that first year. She's now going into 3rd grade. She's one of the top students in the elementary school. The family's very disciplined in studies and everything else. Well, how about the wife? She ran a tiny little, very modest beauty salon, if you want to call it, in Kenya. Today, she has completed 2 years of nursing school, and is one of the top students, wins scholarships. They're not given to her, that she earns them. And Lonnie, she works at night at Swedish Hospital. So,
Awesome.
that's why I had to interrupt you. And Peter, he's completed his, almost completed his trainee. He scored a job with Chase Bank, and he's now a young rising professional in that. So you want to talk about Independence Day, and the reason. It's amazing what people can achieve if you allow them the opportunity. That's America. That's Independence Day. Back to you, Lonnie.
Well, thanks. Well, and Cree, you've been so generous for so many people, myself and Peter and all that type of stuff. And you take very little credit in it, but you've opened the doors for so many people. And, we love you for that and thank you for that. And obviously I don't see you get emotional very much, at least in that type of emotion. I've seen the other side of things. I don't want to be on that side.
You don't want me to go military.
No, I don't want you to go military. But no, to see the impact. I mean, you've done a tremendous amount of impact on things. And I think that leads us into a little bit of fun. So a little bit of fun that we're going to have now is before we wrap things up with Kat's beautiful singing, is we would love, or one of my favorite comedians is Robin Williams. And I think Robin Williams was fantastic at being silly, but also bringing serious things to light. And he was so quick-witted in I think the late 70s or early 80s with a Norman Lear show. He was on for an Independence Day special that actually wasn't very popular, but what he did became a huge popularity thing. And this is that particular thing that he did where he actually portrays Old Glory herself, the American flag. As soon as I figure out how to get there. Okay.
I'm the one that they're singing about. Yeah, I'm the Stars and Stripes forever. Star Spangled Banner. You can call me Old Glory, but let's just keep it simple. Just call me Flag. Oh, say, can you see? Okay. Well, you probably don't recognize me. You say, who is that, Evel Knievel? No way. Yeah, you see, you can't recognize me because
I'm in my birthday suit, yes.
I'm wearing the original 13 here. Yeah. I remember Miss Betsy sitting there going, well, this could be the start of something big. Whoa.
Oh, Tom, don't be a pain.
Yes. I was born June 14th, 1777. That makes me a Gemini. Unpredictable, crazy. Yes, I like the outdoors, and I'm the life of any party, whether it be Republican, Democrat, Independent, Socialist, anything libertarian, I'll be there. You know, I'm 204 years old. People say, Flag, how do you stay so young? Is it jogging? No. Is it tennis? No. It's waving. We're talking about billowing, furling, and unfurling. Richard Simmons, eat your heart out. Yeah, but it hasn't always been easy for me, though. I had a tough puberty. Yeah, war, famine, invasion. And 1861, well, I had a little skin problem that broke out into 34 stars. But now, well, a little patience, and look what we got now. Look at this. Hold on here. Ha-ha! Ha-ha! Everybody's on here. Look at this. Alaska. Hawaii. Yeah, we got your Tennessee. How are you doing today? Here's Vermont. You can't get there from here. Oh, and there's California. For sure, totally. Yes, like I said before, you know, I had a tough time for a while. I've been in a lot of wars. They fired missiles and muskets at me, but you know, come the dawn's early light, I'm still there. You know what I'm talking about? You know, I've been made into everything from designer jeans to t-shirts, and I've even been a cape for Mick Jagger. Well, all right, the rocket's red glare, well, all right. But people haven't always been respectful to me. Sometimes it's been tough. There have been some people try and spit on me, trample me, burn me. Foreigners and occasionally some Americans too, but I don't let it get me down because I'm not a stay-at-home kind of flag. You know, I've been to Europe. I've been to both North and South Pole. I was at Iwo Jima. Recently, I've even been to the moon. You see me in all sorts of different postures. When I'm like this, that means everything is okay. When I'm upside down, well, put on your Mae West and hit the deck. But when I'm like this, well, that's not my favorite position because, well, that's half-mast. I don't mean to bum you out. I didn't come here to depress you. But I got to tell you something honestly. I haven't been getting out much lately. I guess it's not very chic to put up the flag anymore, you know. Muffin and I have a flag, but we haven't found it for very long. Hey, but look at it this way. Don't look at it as saluting me. Look at it as saluting yourselves. You know, hey, I'm just a flag, a symbol. You're the people. If I may say so from here, long may you wave.
Oh, I love it.
So I love that. You know, it's so, Kat, you look like you're getting emotional.
Well, no, there's a background to that. My deployment to Qatar, I actually met and spoke for a few minutes with Robin Williams.
Oh, wow.
So it's kind of, you know, looking at, like you were talking, the military service and those kind of things. And just getting flashbacks of actually, you know, I'm looking around, gathering up passports and stuff to, you know, immigrate everybody into the country. And I turn around and he's like, oh my God, there you are. And he goes, oh, yes, I am. You know, and just funny. And there's a whole bunch of people around and stuff. So we just, you know, shared those few minutes. But listening to him, it brought another flashback to when I was actually in DC. And as we're talking about the Liberty Run and the freedom and remembering really what today is about, y'all know my national anthems are never different. It's what you feel, and they're usually they're traditional, but there's something felt differently. And I will try to make it through without crying. But I was stationed at the Pentagon, and because I was working with folks on Capitol Hill, I would bring in tours to the part that was actually crushed when the plane hit it. I went to the American History Museum and started bawling my eyes out. My mom was with me. She's like, "What's going on?" The flag that was flying over the Pentagon was displayed in the museum.
Oh, wow.
They had a special section about the flag and the origins and the history and so forth. And before singing for my first Washington Redskins game, I actually went out to Fort McHenry, stood on a rampart, and looked out into Baltimore Harbor, where Francis Scott Key would have been observing the battle that day. And as I'm sitting there, on the grass, and just having this very surreal kind of moment, even though I've been singing the national anthem for years, something really hit. As I'm sitting there having a little picnic, a 4-ship of A-10s flies over either to an Orioles or Ravens game, thinking about what was happening from the creation of our nation, to say, no, we want our freedom, we want our liberty. And to remember, like you say, what 4th of July, Independence Day, is really about. Yeah. There's a lot of emotions. Some people, have their different preferences. For me, it's something of what you feel. And it just brought back a lot of amazing, amazing memories and blessings along the years.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, yeah, this has been, I hope everybody watching and stuff really appreciate this, and it's so wonderful to hear all these wonderful stories, and I can't wait to hear the stories and the sharing and the fun and the serious stories and anything that people share with us. We have a fun thing called the kudos board that we sent a link out to everybody. You can upload photos and put in messages, and whatever you want to share, please share it with us, because we can't be together physically in person, but we are together as a wonderful group of people that are continuing to move one foot in front of the other and move things forward. And with that, Kat.
I will try, and Lonnie and Cree both know this. If we were all here together, I would be actually looking at you saying, yes, I can see you. But because this is actually our song, we're not on basically The Voice or anything, but basically, if you so choose to, please join me in singing. Oh, say, can you sing by the dawn's early light? Oh, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red alert, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the hope of the brave?
Let's get the party started, Lonnie.
Oh my gosh. All right. So tears in my eyes.
I love it.
That was amazing, Kat. All of us together. Thank you, everybody out there. Be safe, be kind, do something for somebody else today. Enjoy your family. And with that, Kat, Cree, help me count them down as we go from 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy 4th, everybody.
Go get them. We love you guys.
All right, it has ended, so they can't see us now.